Probably the big one that came out this week. I have been playing quite a bit. I think in about 2 days, I racked up 10, 11 hours in Marvel Rivals. So Marvel Rivals is a game that I don't even remember if I talked about before. I might have had like a bit of a diatribe about it when it was first announced or some news about it came out. If you weren't aware, Marvel Rivals is the new game from NetEase. Who is the developer again? It is NetEase. Okay. I was like, did they just publish it or not? No, it isn't. It is developed and published by NetEase, the big Chinese dev publisher. It is Marvel Overwatch. It is Overwatch with Marvel characters, which is funny because we were just talking about, having a big three and how it's kind of hard to muscle your way in onto an established field. I feel like if this game came out a couple years ago, I think it would have fizzled. I think it would have gone the way of a lot of other titles, because Overwatch had a lot more goodwill back then. But now it's almost the perfect time for it to come out. It reminds me a lot of when Dragon Ball FighterZ came out right around the time that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite did, where there was two games in a niche of a genre, one of which was very established as a series or a long-going title that then just completely started shitting the bed and became very unpopular with its fan base. And then the new face on the block rolls up with a recognizable IP. Yeah, so my concerns with Marvel Rivals were kind of the obvious ones. You hear they're making a Marvel Comics characters hero shooter like Overwatch, and you go, it's not an exciting concept to me on its face, just for the fact that it feels cash grabby. It feels kind of cynical. It just feels like really? Okay, yeah, of course, what are you going to make a battle royale next? So that was my main concern going in, and it was like, it's free, I'll try it out. We'll see what's going on. I didn't even watch very much footage of it before release. So I downloaded it and was just, let's check it out. And I am honestly pretty happily surprised to say it is not a cash grab. It doesn't feel like one. Obviously, they want to make money, and they got the free-to-play microtransactions, baby. Thankfully, they're not constantly shoving them in your face. I don't even think the title, the main screen, even has an ad for the Battle Pass. Not the one that I remember. So if it's there, it's kind of low key. For the time being, there's also they do have a Battle Pass, but as I understand it, the Battle Pass never expires after you buy it. So, and I want to say there's they said there's going to be an archive, you'll be able to go and do previous Battle Passes after they've already concluded the main season or whatever. So I don't know if I'm just making that up, but at the very least, the fact that it doesn't expire feels pretty good. That is already any way that you can get away from the kind of scummy, slimy feeling FOMO stuff is admirable. I understand it's there's concessions you have to make for the business model. It's okay, you're going to be free. You have to make money somehow. I get it. It's the economic system. I would love it if everything could be free and everyone could work for free and have all their needs met, and it would be fine, and everyone could get everything that they wanted for free. And greed didn't exist. But that's not the world we live in. So you have to have something. And Marvel Rivals is so saying that you do have to have something. There are better and worse ways to do that something. There are games that will just shamelessly nickel and dime you for everything, and just really lame. Like, there are games that can be completely brought down by their microtransaction stuff. There's like I haven't talked about it even though I've been playing it for a little bit. There's a 40k mobile game called Tacticus, and what's a little bit of a shame is I think the game's really good. I think gameplay wise it's really fun. It is a very fast, like lightning quick tile-based strategy game, like turn-based strategy game with Warhammer characters on like a hexagon grid. Has like a pretty cool cast representing tons of different factions and races and stuff from the Warhammer universe. Decent amount of content, very fun, like simple, straight to the point gameplay, and I would recommend it, but like, oh man, they are constantly shoving ads in your face. Not like external ads, but like microtransaction ads. It feels like MTX'd to fucking hell. Like some kind of, what do they call them? Like financial optimizers or whatever awful position that is. Someone came in and optimized the hell out of that the whole game, and they're just constantly like, you go to a screen and it's like, here's a different fucking kind of battle pass. There's 5 different kinds of battle passes and fucking all these currencies and all this stuff. And it's like, it's a shame because the core gameplay is very good. It's really fun. And that's why I've continued to play it. But I really don't want to like give them any money just because the way that they've tried to sell it to me rubs me the wrong way so badly. Rivals thankfully does not have anything that bad that I've experienced. My biggest problem with Marvel Rivals, and I guess we'll start with the negatives. My biggest problem with the game is actually just the stability. I didn't play it at all today. I played quite a bit of it the previous 2 days. I haven't played it at all today because I'm kind of waiting on a bug fix patch that hopefully will come out soon. Because within 2 days, I had the game crash on me twice. The first 2 times was a GPU crash, which forced me to force close the game in like Task Manager. And then like reboot, and I did have to like update my graphics drivers, so maybe that could have had something to do with it. But then after doing all that and updating my drivers and rebooting the system and everything, yesterday I literally just, during the loading screen to get into a game, full system crash, which was like, oh, what? What? Full system crash, like screen goes dark, fan stops spinning. I've got like debug lights popping off on my motherboard, and I'm like, what the fuck happened here? The whole thing had to reboot. So the games, it's funny because the servers seem extremely stable. I had like one match that felt laggy. People kept disconnecting, but I think that's just because people playing team games with people suck. But for the most part, the servers were extremely stable, and the matchmaking was lickety split. It was like in game when everything, like without bugs accounted for, very smooth experience. It's just the game just has some stability issues. I haven't played a game with an online experience this smooth at launch day since like Street Fighter 6, which I think is a very high standard because that game had like no server issues, no connectivity issues. They are different games, you know, one is peer-to-peer, the other one is server-based, but I digress. I digest. So onto the positives about the game. So I think one of the biggest things that really enforced to me that it did not feel like a cash grab was the sheer amount of effort put into this game. Every corner of this game, almost too much. Everything has almost a little too much movement and detail put into it. Like, it's, Jesus Christ, fucking every part of the UI is flashy and bursting with character. And it's good. It's a character-focused game, and the characters are presented in like the most hyper appealing way to cut straight to the chase of what is cool about them, what's appealing to them about them. One of my metrics for looking at Marvel-based things is, okay, how much of it is Marvel Comics and how much is Marvel Cinematic Universe? And I am happy to say that Marvel Rivals is actually largely comics. I would say it's mostly comics. They do have, of course, and I don't blame them at all, they do, of course, have like movie-themed costumes. I think there's 2 in the store right now. I want to say there's an Iron Man Avengers Endgame one, and there's like a bundle with like some other, there's like a windscreen and icon and I think a costume. And then there's a Spider-Man No Way Home, curiously. I guess Endgame is even older than No Way Home, but yeah, and then there's like the Guardians of the Galaxy all have like more movie accurate costumes. I'm fine with it. It's a part of the brand. Include it. I like the fact that the base original designs, they went with something more original to their game, and also a little bit clearly taking off of the original comic book designs. Star-Lord looks like, I would say, the modern Star-Lord in the comics, and less like Chris Pratt under the mask with the mask on. Venom. There's a very cool Venom design I like. Is very bulky, lots of like crazy tentacle stuff and weird kind of lumpy proportions. Bruce Banner is like a Silicon Valley twink, like soy twink, who then hulks out. There's a really good voice line when he goes, "I'm hulking out." I want to isolate that. Moon Knight is a fun pick. I guess he's a little more well known because of the recent series. Yeah, looking at the roster, I think the couple that really stood out to me was Jeff the Shark, which is very fun. Cloak and Dagger, that's a good one. Cloak and Dagger. I don't know if there's any kind of planned upcoming Cloak and Dagger TV series or something like that this is like pre-anticipating or whatever to like tie in, but yeah, the Cloak, I've always liked the idea of Cloak and Dagger. I think they have a great theme and visual, and I don't know, they're really cool, but they've never really they never had like the good, they haven't had someone be like, I'm gonna write a really fucking good Cloak and Dagger series. They just haven't quite had like the push. They're sort of in that unfortunate like C tier character limbo of like, you know, the Mr. Potential meme or Potential Man, whatever the meme is. That's a good pick, and they have a fun. They're like a support character, but they're who is it? Zenyatta, I think, in Overwatch. They're like a stance switch character. Cloak is the DPS offense mode, and then Dagger is the healing defense mode. Let me pull up the actual roster just to. You got like the basic Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. Thor is really fun in this game. He was. I was looking for characters who. I guess I could get into this. I'll talk about the roster. Namor is kind of funny. I just find Namor to be a funny character. Reading Fantastic Four comics, I reached this point where I got so sick of Namor. I was like, this fucking guy again? And then every time he shows up, I'm like, oh my god, it's fucking Namor! Adam Warlock. You guys know that I love Adam Warlock. He's a healer, which is interesting, but he does a surprisingly high amount of damage. I've been kind of pleased with playing some of these support healer characters with how much actual DPS they can do, so they don't feel like completely team reliant. It definitely helps a little bit. Black Panther, obvious. Who are some, I don't know, who are some good like picks? Magic is good. Magic's a cool one. Squirrel Girl is fun. I know a while ago they had a push for Squirrel Girl of like, making her kind of like a comedy humor comic. Winter Soldier. That one makes sense. Honestly, looking at it, a lot of the characters are pretty obvious. Punisher is clearly the what is it? Soldier 76? I was about to call him Soldier 48. Who's the Hitman guy? Agent 47. That's it. I was gonna call him Soldier 47, and then I got these two weird lines crossed in my head. The roster is pretty solid. You have a good showing of Avengers. There's a couple X-Men in there. No Fantastic Four at the moment, although I believe like the lore of the game has all to do with Doctor Doom and something like making a big crazy shattering the dimensions kind of thing. So a lot of the stages and stuff represent that. There's sort of some, I don't think crossover stages, but like alternate like what if takes on locations from around the Marvel universe. Luna Snow is a really funny character to me because I had never heard of her before this, and I was like, who is Luna Snow? Luna Snow, if I am not mistaken, was a character who does not originate from the comics. She was created for... Yes, hang on. Yeah. She was created as an original character in the mobile game Marvel Future Fight. Essentially, which is developed by a South Korean dev. And she was basically made to be an original character made to target specifically the South Korean audience. And she's like she looks like I don't know what her backstory or her lore is. She's some kind of ice power person. She looks like she could slot so easily into that League of Legends KDA K-pop group, like type of visual, type of look. She is made to get on the stage and do some. I think she even has like a fucking dance. Her ultimate in this game, and she like dances or something. She's like hang on, what concept? She is a. Oh my god, she's literally a K-pop idol. Holy shit, that's so funny. Yeah, they just made this to target specifically South Korea. They were like, let's make one for the Koreans. And my mother was Korean. My father was African American. She was, yeah, and apparently it worked. Apparently she's pretty popular over there and with the Asian markets. I had never heard of her. We like Wolverine. We like hairy little Canadian men with mutton chops. I find that character really funny. She was created for a video game and now is just like a part of the comics. Go her creator. Yeah, it's a pretty I would say pretty satisfactory starting roster. 33 characters is quite good. It feels like there's a lot of variety. I haven't played every character, but it feels like there's a decent amount of variety to the point where I could find at least one character in each role that I could kind of click with, because this is a role-based game, much like Overwatch. It has, I forget what the what is it? Duelist, Vanguard, and Strategist. It's just DPS, tank, healer / support. It's the Holy Trinity. It's a very basic Holy Trinity system. But within that, there's like a pretty good amount of variety. There's a couple characters who are clearly just taking off of Overwatch types. And I say taking off of, but the truth is that whenever you have a genre or a basic like system structure or whatever, or a team-based shooter with characters who kind of fit into general roles. There's just going to be types of design ideas that are always going to happen. You're always going to the character who switches stances between offense and defense, the character who's like shield focused, the character who is really speedy, the character who does this and that. So calling it like a ripoff is like, I mean, yeah, you could say that, but it's almost like these are ideas that you couldn't even patent because they're too general. Like, for instance, the idea of superheroes wearing capes. I think someone tried to patent that, Marvel or DC, and it went to court. And it was ruled that you can't patent that. You can't patent like powers that are super broad. Like, you can't patent or you can't claim copyright on like super strength or super speed because they're just too general, which I think is kind of cool. Yeah, so I haven't played everyone, but I had sort of a moment where obviously, I should mention I have no background with Overwatch. So I don't have a particular taste of this is the type of character that I played in Overwatch. This is who I'm going to look for. What's my version of this character in Marvel Rivals? So I'm just kind of looking around, experimenting. I ended up really enjoying Star-Lord. Star-Lord is, from what I understand, basically like Tracer from Overwatch. Speedy character with some cool mobility options. He has this like burst movement that you can hold to like sustain. It drains a resource. It's like his jet boots. You get 360 movement, but you can choose to only use it for a second and then just toggle it off. It feels really good to use. It feels very freeing, I'll say. I want the ability to move around. I think my least favorite thing in this game is just feeling slow. I've been spoiled by games where I can go fast. I don't like feeling like I'm really slow and it takes a long time for me to mosey on up to people. I want some way to close the gap. And Star-Lord has, in my opinion of what I've tried, the most fun movement to use. You can just quick like jet boost on and off and just zip around and pull off some really fun stuff. Go in, get a kill, and then get out. Fun character, fun flow. He has these two guns that fire super fast, do pretty good damage, but have a very small clip. And he has a pretty long reload time. But he has a little tactical combat roll move, and he will automatically reload while doing it. So the idea is you pop in, mag dump, roll, mag dump again, and that's enough to kill most like squishy characters. Like most DPS characters, a lot of supports. Tanks not so much, but that's to be expected. But he does very good damage in that way. And then you get in, you get out. And when you get a good flow and you're just dancing around the team and zipping around and getting kills, it's really fun. There's some very fun characters in this game, which made it kind of a bummer when I realized that I would not be able to play DPS and I couldn't play Star-Lord, because you do have to factor in team composition. Teams are smaller than in a game like TF2, where you can kind of get away with having a couple, a little bit of an imbalance in your roles because there's like 12 people on a team. Here there's only 6, like old Overwatch, if you will. Oh my god, I lost my train of thought. So you do have to pay some mind to how many, like, of course, everyone wants to play DPS. So who's gonna take one for the team and play a tank? Who's gonna play a healer? So eventually I was like, okay, I have to find characters in other roles that I find fun if I'm going to play this game long term and accept the terms of engagement, which is you just got to play several different roles. Fine. Okay. I'll meet you halfway, Marvel Rivals, and I will experiment with the other characters. So thankfully, I actually found 2 supports that I liked quite a bit. Adam Warlock, which was nice because I love him in the comics, and Mantis, who is also, I thought was pretty fun and important to me. They both seem to do pretty decent damage, all things considered. And I was like, tanks. What do I like for tanks? Magneto seems pretty good, but he's very defensive. He puts up shields. He blocks projectiles. He shields his opponents. He shields himself. And then occasionally he can do a big shot of like metal that he builds up. He has like a little resource that he builds up. And he's cool, but he's very slow feeling and decent, though. I did some good work on him. And then I picked Thor. And I think I got like 30 something kills and 0 deaths. And I was like, this character is so fun. He is so much fun. Might be like, I guess my next favorite character, right up there with Star-Lord, of who I really enjoy playing. Thor is much more of a bruiser, brawler type of character. Definitely high health, and he has some access to self-shielding. But for the most part, he is like offense-oriented. He has a unique mechanic called Thor Force, which are just very simple. Like, he gets 3 pips of it, and they recharge after you use abilities that consume it. His auto basic attacks, which are like his main like primary fire, is just a melee, and that every hit restores 1 stack of Thor Force. So he has got like a big dash that he can do that will knock opponents back when he runs into them. This engage tool. He can throw his hammer as a projectile that boomerangs back to him. And I think it pulls opponents closer on the rebound or something like that. I might be making that up. Then he's got like a little AoE charge blast thing that he can do that restores his Thor Force, and a big like install mode where he gets like full range attacks and a shield, and he does a lot of damage. And you need 3 Thor Forces to activate it. You need to spend all of them. And he's got like a big AoE, big slam down, do a bunch of damage ultimate. And he is just, man, he is really fun. Of just this, his whole play style is dash in on the front line and just smack people up. I really enjoy playing kind of disruptive characters, like bruisers who can dash into the middle of a team and just head for the DPS and just smack them up, and like, oh, they're actually like a real threat. In League of Legends, my favorite character in League was Dr. Mundo, and that was like your whole MO once you got to the team fight phase. The team fighting phase of the game is, all right, team fight breaks out, I'm popping my ult, which is just an insane speed boost and health regen boost, and I just beeline for the AD carry. I just beeline for them, and they're like, oh god, and now everyone has to deal with you and your insane regenerating health, which opens up windows for your team to capitalize on. You still have to rely on your team to capitalize on it, but you're making it easier for them. And Thor plays kind of similarly, of what I've experienced so far. Really fun, and it like makes me like, if I see, okay, I gotta play a tank this round, I don't mind playing Thor. You can switch heroes mid-round anytime that you go back to your team's spawn zone. So you're not locked in. But you are generally, I imagine that as the meta and the strategy gets more figured out, it's going to be understood like, okay, you should switch to this character now. But for now, most people are just kind of picking whichever character they find fun and just going at it. And I imagine most casual matches will progress pretty much like that. People are just going to play what they like. And for now, that's been a lot of fun. I have like a couple characters in each role that I can play that I might not be particularly good with, but I can have some fun with. So I imagine, I mean, with 33 characters, good lord. It is heavily weighted towards DPS. I want to say of the 33 characters, there's probably twice as many. I would say the tanks and supports combined probably equal the number of DPS characters that there are. DPS makes up like 2/3 of the roster, which makes sense. I saw some people complaining about it, but I'm going to be honest, in a PvP game, you probably want it to skew a little bit more towards offense and less towards defense, because defense is important, but if defense is really good, I remember learning about the GOATs meta in Overwatch, which was 3 tanks and 3 healers, and how it was literally the most miserable, unplayable garbage ever. I've also experienced multiple tank metas in League of Legends, and it is the worst fucking kind of meta possible. Just the worst. The least fun, like non-interactive. Tanks are typically very mechanically simple. Just, you don't want that. Also, people tend to find DPS characters, classes, roles more fun to play. Final Fantasy XIV, they've literally said this. Every expansion in FF14 will always add, the trend is that everyone adds 2 combat jobs, and one of them is always DPS. So DPS has grown at like, the DPS roles have grown at twice the rate of the tank and healer roles in 14. And they have said it's because people like DPS characters. People like playing DPS jobs. And it's like, you know what? Fair. I like playing DPS jobs. Thankfully, there's enough variety in the other jobs that I think you could probably find something that you like, which is the important part. Yeah, I would say the game generally, I mean, I don't know if there's a ton to talk about. Because it's so character focused, the system-wide mechanics aren't as important, I feel, to talk about as how much fun are the characters to play. But I guess to talk about that, it has the general kind of hero shooter things that you would expect. Again, it is a lot like Overwatch. You've got transport the cart from point A to point B. You've got control points. I haven't played, I think those are the only 2 game modes at the moment, but those are tried and true game modes. You've got, I would say that one of the bigger unique things in the game are the destructible environments. This is one of the things they showed off quite early. The destructible environments are cool. I'll say that they're cool. They aren't the most pivotal thing at this point. Maybe it's going to become a huge skill, the same way that, I don't know, building was like a huge skill in Fortnite. But the breakable, I mean, you can just smash open a wall and get like a side path through a map, and it's kind of cool. It is a neat part of the game. I think it also does well to sell the superhero comic book battle part of it. I mean, imagine this is basically the idea is, if you look at what a single match of the game entails, it's like literally like a battle between 12 superpowered characters. It's supposed to feel a little bit big and epic and important. This is like the climax of an Avengers movie at every match. So having the destructible environments, I think, contributes to the feeling that these characters are big and impactful in their worlds. It makes the maps feel a little more lively and interactable. I think having interactive maps that go beyond them just being pure geometry is neat. It adds a lot of life and character to the settings themselves, which is, I think, important. The game Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, I think one of the coolest things about that game is not only does it have really good map design, but pretty much most maps in that game, or a lot of them, have like side objectives that you can do to just open up side paths and flanking routes, and that's a really cool, fun part of that game. So I like the breakable environments. Not the most important pivotal part of the game, but they're cool. I believe they also like regenerate after a certain period of time or something like that. I've kind of noticed that. The other big unique thing that they were pushing were the team up attacks, or the team up abilities or passives or something. There's this whole team up mechanic where many heroes have synergies with each other that go beyond just mechanical. They are like, or implied synergies. They are like literal hard synergies and new mechanics that are introduced. Like one of them is like Thor, Loki, and Hela. If any of them are on a team together, if one of them die, I think it's like if one of them dies and then the other one kills the person who killed them, like if Thor dies and then Hela kills the person who killed the player who killed Thor revives like on the spot. If Adam Warlock is with Star-Lord or Mantis, Adam Warlock's passive is that when he dies, he can like float around for a little bit and then reform, essentially revive himself in a little cocoon. And if he's on a team with Star-Lord or Mantis, he just gives them that passive, which is on like a 2-minute cooldown or something like that. He just gives them that passive. And there's some literal one, or there's some ones that aren't just passive. I think the classic that I was very happy to see was Wolverine with, I think he gets it with the Hulk and like one other character, like Venom or something. But it's the fastball special, which if Colossus ever gets added to the game, I imagine he will also get this ability. It's the classic move. It's when you literally just pick up, a big character picks up Wolverine and just flings him at the opponents. So it's like, okay, Wolverine, melee focused character. If you're on a team with this other character, you can just give him like a super powerful engage tool. Fun. There are ones that are more, they seem random, but I remember hearing someone talk about some of the explosive. So for instance, like, I think if Magic and Black Panther are on a team, they get an ability to essentially like open a portal to the other one or something like that. And you're like, what connection do these two characters have? And the reasoning is not so much there's some like random there's a lot of flavor text in the game actually that explains like, yeah, this is why these two characters have a connection with each other in the ability text. So it's like Black Panther and Magic are both melee focused characters. And in a game like this, if you're going to have both, you might not want more than 2 or 3 DPS on your team. If 2 of them are going to be melee, a little bit of like mobility and maneuverability helps. So it is they were testing it and they were like, oh, well, we both like playing these characters, but it kind of sucks because if you have both of them on the same team, you kind of put yourself at a disadvantage. Let's work in a new move that they get. So the team ups are cool. I imagine that in certain circumstances, they can be very impactful. I definitely felt it as like when I was playing Star-Lord and I had a Warlock on my team. I definitely felt it as, for me, it's like, okay, now I can get more aggressive because obviously you're a very squishy character. A lot of your decision-making revolves around how long can I reasonably stay in the danger zone before I have to get the hell out of dodge because I'm going to get blown up. But if I have the Warlock passive on me, I can play a little more aggressively because I'm going to get a second chance and I can kind of float away to safety without giving them, without timing myself out. And then I can get back into the fight. So I get a bit of a cushion. Same thing if you're going to run 2 healers on your team. I mean, so Mantis and Warlock are both healers. If you run both of them on your team, one of them going down, they just get to revive. So I can see team synergies of you run both of them and they're just like a healing powerhouse, a healing and offense buffing powerhouse synergy or something like that. I can see the implications and how people would be able to hammer it out. It feels like the kind of thing that would be a little bit difficult to coordinate with a bunch of randos in a lobby. But perhaps in more organized play, I can see people being interested in running tournaments or forming teams or something like that. Probably going to be pretty cool to see. It's something. It's a concept that I haven't seen really done in any other game, of characters having unique synergies with each other. And I think there's a lot of potential for the idea. I could see a case where maybe a character isn't that strong until you put them on a team with another character, and then they get something kind of crucial or something like that. There's interesting situations, and I look forward to seeing how they're going to be developing it. Let's see. I guess just a couple random scattered thoughts. The UI is generally pretty good. I like how every time, like, you mouse over the character portraits in the hero like collection screen, not in the character select, but in the selection screen, and everyone has like a pop out animation. It's like, okay, everyone has lore and you get to learn their backstory. It's funny because it really does feel like something that is made for someone who, you know, nothing about Marvel or the Marvel characters, and you could play this game and genuinely get a lot of knowledge about how, like, it feels like it's funny because despite the fact that it's one of the biggest movie franchises of all time, it feels like the game is still trying to sell you on the characters. There's some really neat interactions where during the pregame, while you're in, you're waiting for the doors to open, certain characters will have full-on exchanges, like full 15-30 second conversations about stuff. Magneto and Wolverine talk about, they have like a tense conversation where Wolverine is, I'm allying with you, but I don't trust you because I don't want you to blow it, because we've been making a lot of progress with, like, mutants have been making a lot of progress, and Magneto's like, and that's why I do what I do, is because I think they have a little exchange that you can get. You're like, oh, okay, I see the relationship between them. Captain America and Moon Knight, of all characters, have a conversation where Moon Knight says that he used to be an Avenger and he burned his card when he left. And Captain America says something like, show me, you don't have to show me the card, just show me the man who carried it. And you're like, ooh, that's a good Captain America line. That's like a good in-character line for him. And there's lots of like just things that you might not even expect. Little interactions like that you wouldn't even expect. As Mantis, I think I killed an enemy Star-Lord, and she's like, I'm killing my friends or something. And there's so much character, and there's so much stuff just everywhere. There is a lot of attention to detail and polish put into selling you on the characters and the universe. And I appreciate that. They did not have to go nearly as far with any of that stuff. But they did. And I hope that in the future they keep it up. And maybe there will be new characters introduced, and they'll get all the actors back in the booth, and there'll be 3 more conversations that they can have in the pregame with all the existing cast members or something like that. I don't know. Because that stuff is very charming, and I think it adds a lot to the experience. The sound design, while we're talking about sound, the sound design is like good, and like there's some really good. Black Widow who's like a sniper character. Her sniper rifle has this very interesting, like, click sound when it fires. It's like the bullet is quiet, I think. But then there's like the more like that, like, kind of sound. And it's like, ooh, that's a cool sound effect. I like that. The hit sounds feel really good. It's got a good hit sound. What are some other like good sound? I don't know. Just generally good sound design. A couple things that just stood out to me. And matchmaking. At the moment, the player count is very high. So matchmaking is really quick. And I have to commend the servers for being able to hold up. And obviously it'll dwindle down as time goes on, as naturally happens. So the player base just, cycles in and out. But there's just like, when you finish a round, there's a button that says one more round, and you click it and it just re-queues you. It requeues you right then and there on the spot, and you can get in like back to back to back. So when the player population is high, it's just back to back. It's one of the reasons I put so many hours into it, is it's such an easy game to just get back into. Game length feels pretty good. Usually doesn't go, unless it stalls out for a bit, usually doesn't go over 10-ish minutes. I don't know what the maximum would be. I haven't like done the numbers. I think any online match for a game like this shouldn't go over 15 minutes, in my opinion. I think 15 is the absolute maximum. Like 10 feels like a good amount. 10 within that ballpark, like 12, 13. Let's meet in the middle. Anything longer than that, and I think it gets kind of laborious. But at the moment, matches are pretty fast. The matchmaking is fast. The whole kind of character selection process is also pretty... Everything feels very snappy and concerned with getting you in the game. And I appreciate that. It just feels like a very, very high-quality, polished product with a lot of pretty well thought out, solid mechanics, clearly taking a lot of the stuff that seems to have worked with Overwatch. I don't know if the particular way the game feels is going to click with everybody, but I quite enjoy it at the moment. I think the characters are fun. It has a pretty good roster. It's a little, it's a little hero heavy. Who are the villains? I guess you got Hela, Loki, Magneto, depending on Namor, depending on Venom, depending on, yeah, a lot of like anti-hero, not a lot of villains on the roster so far. So I would like to see more villains on the roster. I don't know. I'm quite enjoying it. I think it's a pretty solid, fun game. I think if you liked Overwatch, but you're a little tired of it, I think it's a nice refresher. If you still want something like it, it's the 6v6 style of old Overwatch. And yeah, I if you're curious about it, I would actually recommend to check it out. Maybe wait for a bug fix patch, which is sort of what I'm doing, because kind of annoying to have it crash so much. I've had more crashes with this game than I did with Fallout New Vegas, which I understand is that I played that game with a bunch of mods to fix the bugs, but I don't know. Maybe there's not a grand point to be made there. It's just kind of a funny observation. Hey, before I go, so I am not used to playing games with voice chat. It's been a while since I have. But I hopped into a match and I was listening to a podcast, and I heard, usually if people are active on the voice chat, I just mute them because I don't want to hear it. Look, if it's that important, type it out. That's how I go. Also, I'm trying to listen to something. Excuse you. But I hear this distinctly young voice, and I pause my podcast and I'm like, wait, what? And I come to learn that not just one, but half of my team is prepubescent boys, like middle school at the latest, at the oldest. I'm on a team with 3 little boys with little squeaky voices, and that is kind of a new experience for me. The only other game I really play with voice chat is like TF2, and that game is like maybe teenagers at the youngest. It's a bit of an old man game, I feel, at this point. It's an old man's game. I'm not used to getting dropped onto a team with children that I know are children. And I wanted to ask this. So, okay, so first of all, honestly, like, was I annoyed? I was annoyed in the sense that they weren't very good, and they just kind of ran around the whole game and asked each other questions. One of the kids was like, he goes like, I think they were all in a group together, like they were friends in real life. And he goes, he asked another one of the kids, who's that white guy? And the kid goes, Victor, chill. And he goes, no, the one you're playing as. And he goes, oh, it's Moon Knight. Why did you say it like that? Very funny. Very cute. And then when we lost, it was so funny. They had no idea we were losing the whole game. They were just running around doing whatever they felt like. And when we lost and like the finale screen came up, one of them was like, wait, who won? Oh, we lost? Bro, I was cooking though. And I was like, this kid was not cooking. I had the highest KD on the team with my fucking Thor smashing everyone's head open. This kid was not. It was very cute, and I wanted to pose the question: when you guys play online games, or you interact with someone online and you don't know their explicit age or anything really about them, what do you assume? Like, what's the default like model in your head? Because for me, I realized that when I interact with people, I kind of assume they are around my age. If I can't go off of any kind of username or voice or anything, if it's just like someone over text or like on Twitter or Blue Sky or some social media that's over text, or in a Discord server or in a game like this, and I can't really glean anything about them, I kind of always imagine that they are maybe high schoolers at the youngest, like late high schoolers, like around 17 or 18. I also usually imagine that they're male. But I remember, unless I remember, that was my default until I would learn that they were like if they were from Tumblr, I would think that they were women. That was the one adjustment that I would make. That was my like unconscious bias adjustment that I would make. And it kind of shocks me when I'm in a Discord server and I find out that someone is like 16 years old or something. Not that anything like weird has been going on, and I'm like, oh shit, am I a criminal now? But just like, what? Oh god, wait, I've been talking to a child? What the fuck? I shouldn't have to talk to a child on the internet. That should come with a trigger warning. You should disclose that you're a minor. Actually, you probably shouldn't. It probably leaves you more vulnerable to getting predated upon. So I'm curious, what do you guys assume? Do the listeners of this podcast, because I think everyone unconsciously assumes some things about strangers on the internet. What's your default for someone? And have you ever been surprised that someone was a lot younger or a lot older than you were expecting? I would love to know.